Hey guys, this is Bound to Divide with Abletontips, and today I'm going to be showing you 3 melodic techno drum loops that I've made using the samples from the new Melodic Techno Academy on PML. I'm just going to play them through and then I'm going to explain how each of them were made. Okay, so the first one is this one, and I'm just going to mute all the melodic stuff. It's really just in there just to add some context to the drums, so we're just going to focus on the drums for now. And this is a really simple kind of drum loop. In fact, you'll find when you listen to a lot of like the new melodic stuff, melodic techno stuff, it's really simple. There's not like huge amount of complexity in the drums, but it's more like these little subtle nuances and like noise loops and stuff in the background that really just kind of add character to them, adding somewhat complexity to a really simple kind of beat. Okay, so we have a kick on every quarter note, and the kick that I'm using is this kick 11. Nothing really complex there. And then we have this hi-hat, and I noticed a few guys doing this in these days where they have this kind of sprinkler hi-hat, kind of almost pulling from like the more hip-hop styles, but I think it actually sounds really cool in the context of melodic techno. And how this is achieved is using this hat 11 from the sample pack, and then you'll see here in the MIDI we have a note on every 16th. And then when we get here, we start placing notes on the 32nd notes. So if you just divide the grid up into 1/32, you can then just take the notes that were placed like this and just divide them up into 4 little notes. It doesn't have to be in this exact position. You could, and it doesn't have to be 4 notes. It can be whatever you want. But just to achieve that sprinkler sound, you just divide them up like that. And then also if you just check out the velocities here, you'll see I'm going from like quiet to loud velocities to make almost like a pumping effect in the hats. And then there's a few other things you can do. Here I've also added some random pan. Here it's at 19%. And that just makes the hat move around a bit. Otherwise it would have been really like static in the center. Move that up to 20%, and if you move it higher, you'll hear it exaggerated. So I had that at 19. Another thing you can do is just to turn on this random LFO, bring this down so that the notes don't change pitch halfway through the note, but each time it plays, if you have retrigger on, it's going to play a different value on the LFO, and now you can assign that value to whatever you want. You can use it on pan, similar to using this random pan. So you can assign it to pan. You can also assign it to pitch, which can sound cool because it's almost like if a drummer was playing a real hat, they wouldn't be hitting the hat in the exact same position on the cymbal each time, and that way it would play slightly different pitches and you'd get different tones out of it. So assigning some random pitch, not too much. You'll hear like this will be way too much. You want to probably bring that down to like 5% or something. And now it's even more alive. And combine that with the random pan. Yeah, so that's 19. Then you just add some humanity to your hat loop. Okay, and then the next thing is this, which is just a nice background loop. So without that loop, this just adds like a bit of dirt to the loop, which sounds great. And yeah, that's just another percussion loop, and I didn't really process that at all. Same with this one, no processing, but it just sounds great to add it in there. I think without those, the loop just feels way too dry and kind of amateur. Okay, and then over here I'm adding in this clap, and it's not, I know it's not the thing to do with techno to add a clap on the 2 and 4, and especially in this kind of pattern where it's not on the 2 and 4, but I did hear it in some songs that are classified as melodic techno, and I think it sounds pretty cool, so I added it in there. Just adds a nice bit of bounce to the track. And that's this sample MTA clap 2, and I moved the start position of this because I didn't want this, this sounds like a group of people clapping originally, you know, because it has these few transients over here, but if you just drag this forward then you just get a single transient. Yeah, so here we have it, instead of doing the 2 and the 4, we just drag this back a 16th. Okay, and then the melodic stuff, I just added it in to add context like I said, but yeah, adding in that bass really adds to the track. And then something melodic here, which is also part of the sample pack. Okay, let's go into the next beat, and again I'm gonna just mute this stuff. Okay, so here we have a kick that has a bit of a tail on it to give us some sub. So you don't actually really need much of a bass with this, or at least you don't really need a sub, but I did add in this bass just to give it a bit more groove in the low end. But yeah, this kick, no real processing other than just scooping out a little bit of the mids here. And then I just turned up the release, because if you just have this all on stock settings, you don't get any of that sub tail, you need to bring up the release. Okay, and then we have this clap. This is very common on the Afterlife stuff, this kind of 909, 808 sounding clap. Nice and wide, with a bit of reverb on it. And that's just on the 2 and the 4. So every second kick. And then we have this loop. There's a nice shaker loop. And I think I did some processing here. So I've got a little bit of gain automation over here, which is almost like side chaining it to the kick. And the reason is I just didn't like how the shaker sounded when it was layered with the kick. So I went and manually removed it using volume. So it would be basically the same as using a compressor and just side chaining it. I'm not really sure why I did it this way. I guess just at the time it seemed like the quicker way to do it, because I was already had the clip open. So yeah, without that gain automation though, let's just put this with the kick. Yeah, it's hang on, let me just remove all of this. You can hear those hits that are landing on the kick. They kind of like flam a little bit. So with that back in there, it just cleans it up. Then we have this shaker loop, which I got just to kind of thicken up that offbeat shaker. Also adds a bit more dirt to the track. Okay, then on this channel we have the rides. So this is a sample that I did a little bit of cutting and looping on. So I found this just by searching for ride in the pack. It's not actually part of the sample packs from what I can tell. I think it's just part of the course files and templates. I think I just searched ride, and then I'm not sure, it was from one of these. Oh yeah, here it is. It's from the mixing course. So you can hear originally this is playing that rhythm, but I just wanted a straight shaker, a straight ride. I didn't want that rhythm in it. So I just looped it on this quarter note over here. Just turn on the loop race, and then you can drag it down. So at the moment it's doing this, and I like this too, because this little hit that happens briefly on the 16th is panned right, so we have a lot of movement from left to right with it. Okay, and then we've got another 2 melodic loops. Okay, so the last one is this one. Just going to turn off the melodic thing, the bass line. Okay, so this one we got another kick here, this long tail G sharp kick. Again, make sure you bring up release so that you get that nice tail, otherwise it would sound like this. And then we have this clap, or the snare in this case. And we layered with this snare. And I got this one because I wanted that long tail, almost like a reverb tail. But what I did here was it just increased the attack to 49 milliseconds because I didn't want to take away from the punch of this snare. I think this, if I bring it down, would interfere with this one. Or it would just stack on top of that one and be unnecessarily loud. So this way we get the nice tail and we keep the punch of the original snare. And I think, let me just double check something. No. I thought maybe I had shifted this slightly forward, which sometimes works really nicely. Just to shift it off the beat. But I didn't. And in this case, I think it sounds better on the beat. But you should always try that. Sometimes shifting it that direction or even that direction can make it feel nicer in the context of the groove. Okay, then we got this loop. That's just your standard like offbeat hi-hat. And then this one. And that's really giving some 16th note groove to the whole loop. Okay, then this is some really nice kind of ear candy / it adds a nice rhythm to the track. It's almost like these orchestral drum hits. Adds a nice bit of bounce to the start of the loop. And it also has that cool tail, that like breathy groan sound. I dig that. So without that, we don't get nearly as much oomph on that first bar. Okay, then we've got this percussion loop, which is basically just clap snares with some cool movements in them, like some reverses and some like little bouncy 16th note hits. And that adds a whole lot of groove to this. So without it, not too much movement, but with it, really cool. And then we got this bass rhythm. Okay, yeah, that's it. Those are all 3 loops. If you like the sounds, then you can get the sample pack, which is part of this Melodic Techno Academy. And that's not the only thing that's in it. I believe there's a whole course and templates and there's sample packs, just loads of stuff in here, everything you need to get started in melodic techno. So yeah, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.